everybody, and welcome to TabbyLoves. This is a channel where I talk to you about the things that I love. I am Tabitha, and today we are going to be talking about romance books. We got a nice little variety here. I realized as I was setting up for this video, I actually don't read a lot of just straight up romance. And even like the fantasy that has romance I read, the romance is not the part that sticks out. It's other things. But I want this video to be focused on the things that stick out. You know, the romantasy books that, or like the romance books, the romantasy books, the paranormal romance books that really capture the vibes I'm looking for, the romance, that I want the longing, the yearning, the building each other up, all of that. And I think these books all handle it really well. Without further ado, let's get into it. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, we are going to start with my contemporary books stack. And we're going to start with one of my favorite contemporary romance series. This is like a series of interconnected standalones. I feel like a lot of these contemporary romance series are that. But there's something really fun about going through and like following like different couples from the same universe and watching them all fall in love, and like watching, like, for example, everyone and like all the siblings in a family fall in love, all of that. So that's what we're going to start with. And the first book in that series is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. A pop star ends up breaking down, like her car breaks down in this guy's front yard, and he offers to let her stay with him while her car's getting fixed in town. And he owns like a pie bakery, I think, something like that, like a pie store. And like she ends up helping him around the pie store and breaking through his harsh outer crust and all of that good fun stuff you love in a romance. And this is I believe a closed door romance too, like at least all of the books in this series are. So if you don't like spice and you want just the romance, this is great. And they're not too terribly long either. Like, this is a relatively quick read. And in the same vein, because it's the sequel to it, is Practice Makes Perfect, which I actually liked this one better than the first one. It's leading up to the wedding of the characters in the first book. And it's her bodyguard and his sister. Lots of fun. She owns a flower shop and is seen as this very innocent woman, even though she's, I don't remember how old she is. I want to say 28. She's like in her like mid to late 20s or something along that. And she is tired of being perceived as this like gentle, like needs to be handled with care girl. She has trouble getting dates because no one sees her like as desirable. And he is going to coach her on how to date better. And everyone knows how a book where someone is coaching another on how to date or how to find love, we all know how that ends. And it's a great rendition of that trope, I think. Up next, one of my favorite YA teenage contemporary romance is Spells for Lost Things, which I'm so sad because I hadn't realized that one of the last times I put this on my shelf, I had accidentally bent this back cover backwards. Oh, I'm a horrible book owner. I'm so sorry, book. I love the feel of this cover too. That's such a shame. Anyway, Spells for Lost Things, it follows these two characters. One is a girl who she has this like wanderlust, like she really wants to travel, but she thinks that her mom is a little overbearing, and her and her mom go to Salem to sell the house of the aunt that had raised her mom, and like there's a few other like quirky aunts in the picture too. And when she's there, she finds out that there's some sort of curse on their family where all of the women drift apart, which is why her and her mom drift apart, which is why, like, her mom ended up leaving Salem and isn't very close to anybody, and so she is determined to break that family curse. And then on the other side, you have the boy who is currently living with a foster family in Salem. His mom is a drug addict and wasn't able to take care of him, so she's been in and out of the foster system, but he always runs away looking for her, and is always trying to find her, and just doesn't seem to understand the circumstances as to why he can't be with her. And he, on top of that, is also really into astronomy, Like, and that's one of the things I really liked about this book. I liked that both characters had, like, something about them that was, like, almost like a hyperfixation, or, like this, like, hobby that they were both interested in. And you could see so clearly the future that could await both of them. And it might not be together. Like, this book, I think, if I remember correctly, was kind of open-ended. With, like, because they're kids. And they happened to be meeting in Salem. But there was no guarantee that things were going to be permanent. And so it was a fun way to explore a young teen love with this, like, cozy, like, almost witch aspect, which the witchcraft in here, as someone that is a witch, is pretty spot on for what witchcraft does look like in the real world and the ways it can manifest. So it was a great kind of, like, not real magic, but magical adventure. So there's definitely going to be more magical adventures in this list, but they're not going to be set in the real world. So, you know, there's that. And then the only Emily Henry book I've read so far, which is Funny Story. I actually like this way more than I thought it would. I love a trope of people discovering who they want to be, and the main character in this one, she goes through a lot of that because she had basically based her entire life around her fiance, who ended up breaking up with her to get back with a childhood friend who he had apparently had always had feelings for, and said childhood friend left her boyfriend as well, and the boyfriend then needed someone to room with him to help with rent, and so he offers it to her since they're both equally heartbroken. And of course, because they're roommates, you've got a fun forced proximity situation. He isn't your usual book boyfriend, but I loved him so much. He just came across as so genuine. Like, this man was a good one. Despite the things that happen near the end of the book, the third act breakup in contemporary romance novels will never cease to amaze me. But yeah. And then the last two books I'm going to talk about for the contemporary romance section, I don't have physical copies of, but first is Outdrawn. This was a really fun rivals to lovers, like it's workplace rivals to lovers. And these two girls are both, they're artists for their own webcomic series, and they both end up working for the same comic, like, company. And so on top of having their own comics, they're also doing, like, this really high production comic too for this comic company. And it's like they knew each other in college, I guess, and this is them reacquainting themselves with each other. It made me really want to get back into webtoons, which I did for a little bit, and then I immediately fell back off because I'm really bad with keeping up with webtoons, and the site had changed so much since I last used it when I was in middle school, so I couldn't keep up with it. But if you are like someone that really likes drawing and art, and that sort of thing, I definitely recommend this one. Lots of fun. And then the other one is, and this one doesn't need an endorsement by me because obviously it's a really big one out there, but the Bridgerton book series, I like the romance in those books, like, better than I do on the show, if that makes sense. Though I have only read the first two. I wanted to read more, but unfortunately they're not on Kindle Unlimited anymore, so we'll see. I might do them as audiobooks through the library. Who knows? I would like to continue that series eventually, though. Like, it's in the cards, it's in the books. In the books literally and figuratively. But I wanted to mention them here. And I know they're not technically contemporary either. They're more historical fiction kind of romances, but I didn't know where else to put them in this list, so it's getting put here. So there you go. Now, let's move on to the next step in the magical realm, and let's talk about paranormal romances. Now, paranormal romances are one of those that are not technically a real genre, but it used to be all the rage when I was in middle school and high school. Like, I was obsessed with reading paranormal romances. Like, those are the books that I knew if I picked up off that shelf that was labeled paranormal romance, I would find exactly what I needed. It was the time of, like, Twilight and Hunger Games, Divergent, all of that. And there's a wide variety of books that I read from that time where reading them as an adult, I did not like them nearly enough for how much I remember liking them when I was younger. So I didn't put a lot of those on this list. If you want me to go back and through all of the books I used to love when I read as a younger reader, I can totally do that. But for now, we're going to focus on books I currently like, and I want to start out by one where it's technically a first book in a really long series, and I really want to read more in this series and haven't gotten around to it, but I own the next 3 books in this series, and that's Angel's Blood. It's about a vampire hunter, and she is given a job by this really sexy angel who, there is another angel that's gone rogue and has turned himself into a vampire, which is really taboo, and he needs her help hunting him. Now, is this book a literary masterpiece? No. But I was eating this up. Like, I could not stop reading this. There was something about this love story that really, like, kept me going. Like, kept me turning pages. I love them. I love the ending. And I, despite the fact that I haven't picked up any of the books in the series yet, I actually really cannot wait to just continue on with this and try it out. You all don't know how much I want that. Next... An Education in Malice. This, I was a bit debating because it does fall a little closer to horror than it would paranormal romance. It is a kind of dark academia Carmilla retelling. I really liked the kind of rivals to lovers that's in this one too. Except in this case, it's education rivals to lovers, or like college rivals to lovers. There's kind of this weird thing with like, they're both obsessed with the teacher as well, which adds to some interesting dynamics. And of course, there's vampires. And you'll see if I do end up making that other video about the paranormal romances, but vampires really just hit the right spot for me sometimes. So I can't help but recommend it. Especially, like, this is also the author that did Dowry of Blood. And I did not include it in this list because calling it a romance felt a bit weird. It's definitely more of, like, a toxic romance kind of book. But beside the point. And then finally, this one, it's definitely a controversial book. It's a well-known book. But it's one of my favorite romances all time. It's one that I go back to, like, at least once a year, once every other year, and that is Twilight. And you can tell by this copy how long I've had this book, how many times I've read through it. Like, it's got so much, like, damage watermarks. When I was in middle school, I would read this book, and I'd read this entire series, and then I'd go back and start it all the way from the beginning because I loved it. I was obsessed. Now, as an adult, there's definitely some red flags about Edward, you know, like, it's not 100%, again, not a literary masterpiece, but it is a cultural icon. I don't care what you think of the book itself. You have to admit, it affected the culture for a long time. So I had to include it. I couldn't help it. Oh, and for those of you that don't know, it just occurred to me there's probably people that might not. Twilight is about this girl named Bella. She moves into her with her dad in a small town called Forks, and ends up meeting this mysterious, like, classmate named Edward, who has a very strange reaction to her, and obviously it all goes either downhill or uphill, depends on how you feel about it from there. And then for the book I don't own, and this one, I actually didn't know if it fit in the paranormal romance category, but again, I just felt like this, out of everything, it's where it fit the best, and that is Two for Tea. This one's like a cute short read about this witch girl who she moves into a town, and I think she has like family problems. Like, she doesn't get along with her family, but she has to live with them, and she ends up finding this cute little tea shop that seems like it's run by no one. Well, it turns out that it's run by this like shadow creature that doesn't like to be seen, but just quietly serves people, and she ends up going there every day and like trying different teas. And then of course her and the little shadow monster, even though they never really, like, I mean, not that they never see each other, but she can't really see him. But despite that, the personality, the exchange back and forth just makes them fall in love with each other, and it's just so cute. And there is spice at the end. It's a little bit more of a slow burn. It's not like a full-on spice story, but when the spice gets there, it's good, and I enjoyed it. Finally, we're moving on to romantasy books. And now, romantasy, it's definitely a the conversations around romantasy are definitely very prevalent recently. I do not entertain the fact that all romantasy is garbage slop. I don't retain the fact, or I don't believe in the fact, not the fact. I don't believe that romantasy books are for people who are stupid. I do not believe that romantasy books are inherently bad or inherently anti-feminist or any of the other kind of conversations that are going around. There will always be genres like romantasy. Again, paranormal romance previously was that genre where it's going to be in high demand. There's going to be a lot of books being released. Some of them are going to be good. Some of them are not going to be good. It's in every single genre. But I just want to put that disclaimer into this before we talk romantasy books. And some of these books, to be fair, are not full romantasy. Some of these are fantasy with romance aspects. Some of these are romantic fantasy. But most of these I would consider romantasy. And I will not take any romantasy slander in the comments of this video. I don't care. I don't care. I think people can be multifaceted, and if someone just wants to read romantasy because that's what they like to read, I don't think it's a sin. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the first one. This one technically it doesn't fully count as a romantasy, but it is a well-known romance, so I'm including it here because I think it's the best category for it, and that is Howl's Moving Castle. Like, I've watched the Studio Ghibli movie, and I like the Studio Ghibli movie, but I liked the romance in this one better because it was almost more of like a slow burn where the characters don't even realize that they're in love with each other. And it's also the fun situation where the main female character doesn't even realize all the things that the male main character is doing for her, and it's because they're all like, him and like the other people in the book are kind of hiding it from her, and it's like this fun sweet little reveal at the end, and it just tugs at the heartstrings in all the right ways, so I had to include it in this video. Oh, and I love a little cozier environment for romance books. I feel like it fits so well. Of course, there is like the whole high stakes fantasy romance too, where sometimes that high stakes makes romance burn faster and brighter. But there's something about a nice cozy like slipping into romance that's always so nice. Anyway, next up we have Assistant to the Villain. This one, again, really fun. Again, not a literary masterpiece, you know? However, this one is a fun one if you like books where the two characters are in love with each other and everyone around them can see it except for them. This is perfect for that. It's a little bit more of a slow burn because of said everyone can see it but them. And I love that being kind of drawn out in stories. Like, I think it's a great trope that I wish was a little bit more fiction nowadays. But this one is also, it's just a lot of fun. It's funny. The author is really sweet. Like, her TikToks are a lot of fun. Like, what more is there to say? Okay, this next one, I try not to include books in these lists that everyone has read, and I know I put Twilight in here already, so I feel like I'm justified in putting this book in here too, but it's one of my favorite fantasy romances of all time, and that's not a new thing. This is in a lot of people's lists, but I have to include it in mine as well, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury. Spoilers for the ACOTAR series, because this is the second book in the series, so if you haven't read the first one and you want to, you know what to do. Okay, this is the love story between Rhysand and Feyre, and this love story will always have a special place in my heart, and out of all of SJM's romances, I think this one is my favorite written romance. Well, not my favorite series of hers. Most of the other series, the romances are good, but I'm not like reading for the sake of the romance. I like other aspects to the world, to the characters, all of that. But this one, the romance really sucked me in. There is a reason that she is popular, though people, again, on Book Talk, on like YouTube, in literary spaces, like to dismiss SJM and says her writing's bad. I am not one of those people. I think her writing is fantastic, and I think this is one of the best books to show how good her character work is. I love her worlds. all of that. So of course I had to include it. I'm not going to include the synopsis because it's the second book in the series, but the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, follows Feyre as she is taken into the Fey realm in exchange for a Fey wolf that she had killed, and she falls in love with the Fey named Tamlin. You kind of have to go on the journey to find out why she ends up with Rhysand, but I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, as for books I don't own, I have read a lot of romantasy books, and I haven't physically owned them. Because again, I've mentioned before, and I wanted to get the disclaimer out of the way that I value romantasy as a genre, and I feel like more people should. Like, people shouldn't shit on it as much as they do. That being said, I do try to read most of my romantasy books either through Kindle Unlimited or through the library, because they do vary on whether or not they're good. They could go either way, and I don't like taking the chance. So there's a lot of books that I really like that were romantasies that I don't own physical copies of. But that being said, let's get into it. I want to talk about first The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is a great, like, real fun fantasy vampire romance. It's a competition book. Like, the main character ends up like in this competition with a bunch of vampires, even though she herself is not a vampire. And if they get to the end of the competition, they get a wish from this goddess that they worship, and she ends up becoming reluctant allies with again, a sexy vampire. And you know how things go. I like the romance in this. The ending was great, I think. Admittedly, I haven't read the other books in the series. It's like a duology, I think, and then there's also some, like, spin-off books. But I have a friend who absolutely loved these books, and she's not a big romantasy girl, so, of course, I had to put them in here. I just had to. And then up next, if you see me looking over here, I have some of them written down on my laptop, because, again, there's quite a few of them that I don't own. I want to keep my thoughts straight. When the Moon Hatched. This one, I didn't realize was as controversial as it was until recently, but I loved When the Moon Hatched. Like, there's definitely some elements that do get a little bit nagging. Like, the book is just, I feel like, a tad too long for what it has, and so there's a lot of repetitiveness with the romance a bit. But overall, the understory of the romance, the fantasy aspects of the story, the kind of, like, it has this element of, I don't know how to phrase this without spoiling the book. Let's just say that there is a character who is actually, has, like, amnesia and doesn't realize that they are also this other character that the people around them keep referring to. And it's a fun setup, and usually situations like this just stress me out, so I don't like reading them. But this one, I think, overall, again, with the few criticisms I already gave it aside, great story, great book. And then one of the final ones. Yeah, one of the last two. The Rose Bargain is something I read recently, and I think this one, it's like upper YA. Like, there are spicy scenes, but they're more vague than, like, explicit spicy scenes are, if that makes sense. But it's more or less if Bridgerton met a Fey world, where in this world the Queen of London or England, I'm a little, I don't know. She's like the queen of, like, I think England, and she is a Fae, and she offers all of her subjects when they turn 18, she offers them a chance to make a bargain with her. And so people bargain things like, oh, they give up their left pinky to have super good memory. This one girl, she gives up her ability to turn left to have, like, perfect teeth. Something like that. So those are just examples. I might even be butchering the exact examples that were given in the book. But the overall situation is fun. It's a series I do plan on continuing. In the romance, it is, like, one of those cases where, because, like, all of these girls are competing for the hand of the prince, but of course, the prince isn't who the main character actually ends up falling in love with. So I always love when stories pull that, where there's a character that they obviously should be in love with, and then the character that they're actually in love with. And you gotta love it with that, with those kind of situations, those kind of trope setups. Okay, final book on this list. And I'm putting it on this list because I feel like those that do like romantasy are kind of like sleeping on this book, and that is Deal with the Elf King. It's kind of a fun, it's not like a Hades and Persephone retelling, because they're not Hades and Persephone, but it's like the overall vibes of the Hades and Persephone stories. You know, the king of death and the queen of life, basically, like that kind of setup. It's an arranged marriage, and of course they learn to love each other. This author, I believe, also has other books that are standalones within this fantasy realm that I actually am curious on getting to eventually. Haven't gotten to it yet, but I want to. So yeah, I just wanted to add this one here to finish off the list, just because I feel like it could deserve a little more love. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you all have a great Valentine's Day, no matter what you're doing. Honestly, me and my boyfriend are probably gonna just stay in, and I have no problem with that, but we'll see. I don't know, sometimes he likes to go out on Valentine's Day, or maybe like the day after. I don't know, because I think it's a Saturday. He might have to work. Doesn't really matter. That doesn't apply to anything to you guys. Again, this outro is all over the place. I hope you enjoyed. I love you guys very much, and I'll see you guys in the video next week. Goodbye.